Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Argue with the Wall. Today, I'm going to be talking about something fun and exciting. Sorry if you hear my dog. If you're watching, you can see her. She's in the back. She might get up in the middle of this and run outside, so if you hear barking, just ignore her, because I will be as well. She laid down perfect. So today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons. I've come up with a list of things that I believe have a long list of good and bad. And this is going to be kind of like a two-parter. So today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of men. And then next week probably I'll have a pros and cons of women. And I have a healthy list of things that are good and bad about men. And let me just do a little bit of that. And I don't want this to be taken like too seriously, because nothing on this podcast should ever be taken very seriously. So just keep that in mind when I'm talking about the cons specifically. So you want to know what? I think we just need to get into it. So let me do a little bit of this. So to start off, we'll start with the pros, to start on a positive note. I will say that the pros list is significantly shorter than the cons list. That is probably because I'm biased, because I am a woman and a frequent man hater, but also attracted to men. So yeah, that's my current situation. So number one, they're good at cuddling. Typically, even if it's like a guy that's your size, I feel like they're still like good at cuddling. But ones that are like a foot taller than me, I just am enclosed in them, and it is one of the best feelings in the world, especially if they're a little bit more of a beefcake. I love a good beefcake. So if a guy is bigger, like taller than me and just bigger than me in general, I'm gonna be a sucker for cuddling. They can walk you home at night, and they'll even offer to walk you home if they're a decent person. Now, I have like pretty good guy friends, and I don't live that far away from where all my friends live. I just kind of live down the street, but sometimes like if we're out drinking, sometimes they'll offer to walk me home, which is nice. But typically, like if you have a boyfriend or like a brother or just like guy friends in general, they'll walk you home, or you can even force them, or you can guilt trip them. Now, depending on how convincing you are, that's another story. There's my dog. Hi. What you doing? And I think that's like one of the best things. Even just like being a man, it must be nice to just be able to walk home alone. So, wouldn't know what that's like, especially like at night. They require little attention most of the time, kind of like a snake plant. Not to say like, you know, in general, but I mean, even in a relationship, me saying this sounds like I would be a horrible girlfriend, but really in comparison to a woman, I feel like they require less attention, because they're just like, they just are more self-sufficient in general. However, I have met very needy men, and I think I kind of like it because it makes you feel, you know, wanted. But for the vast majority of men, I feel like they require little attention, similar to a plant that thrives on neglect. This is one of my favorite ones. They'll finish your drink if you say you won't do it. I've been in this situation so many times. I've been, you know, out at a bar and I have to close my tab, but I don't want to waste my drink, but I like definitely shouldn't drink anymore. I go to one of my guy friends and I'm like, finish this. And they're like, well, I don't really. And I'm like, okay, fine. I figured you wouldn't have done it anyways. Or like, oh, you won't do it. There's nothing a man would rather not appear as would be, if that sentence even made sense, would be a pussy. If you tell a guy you won't do it, there's something like that switches in their head where they're like, oh fuck, now I have to do it. She said that I won't do it, now I have to prove her wrong. It's like some kind of like assertiveness. Say like, even if you're like trying to dare them to do something for your own entertainment, and you say, oh, you won't do it. Yeah, I figured, you wouldn't do it anyways. Or, helping you carry in something, and they're like, like bitching and complaining. It's like, okay, I figured you wouldn't have done it anyways. And then immediately they're like, they get up and do it, or they, do whatever you ask them, because the last thing they want to be is a wuss. I mean, no one wants to be a wuss, but especially a man and a woman interacting, the last thing he wants to look like is a little pussy. Like, it's like a magic trick when you say, oh, you won't do it. You won't do it. You won't finish it. There's nothing more the man wants to do more than impress a woman with some kind of like dominance in this like alpha mindset. They can carry me is another pro. They can carry me. They can carry me on in a little piggyback, in any situation that your mind is thinking of right now. They can carry me. And not saying that, my girlfriends can't carry me, but I feel like men are kind of like little pack mules. They like to be these strong men that, women need. And so if we need them to carry us, or carry like grocery bags, or like just something really heavy, like they want to do it. Now, if they don't want to do it, just call them a puss. Be like, hey, all right, you couldn't, I figured, you wouldn't be strong enough to hold it anyways. Or like, oh, you probably can't lift me up. Or just like something that's kind of like questioning their strength and their superiority. I say superiority in quotation marks because they're not superior. So like, if you just say any of that shit, you're golden. You have a new pack mule right at your side. They have raspy morning voices. That one gets me. They have really, really nice morning voices that do certain things to me. If you've never heard a man's voice in the morning, just Google Harry Styles' morning voice. He's in whatever, it's in the, I think it's one of their documentaries in One Direction. And you'll hear it, and you can thank me later. They typically have nice arms. Now, this is just a personal pro for me because I like arms. So, and I find most of them do. And if they don't have big arms, they either have a fat ass or a big dick. So, sorry, Mom, if you're listening. But, I'm just assuming. Wink, wink. Now, here's the thing. On the other hand, men can get away with not having a big ass. They can still be hot, Now, this also goes person to person, how some guys, there's ass guys and boob guys. Now, some guys really don't care about the size of either or. But there's this societal standard that women have, that we have to have these BBLs. Now, men aren't expected to have BBLs. They're just like naturally have a fat ass. I know so many men who like don't work out their asses, and they're just the plumpiest mountains I've ever seen in my life. Same with like their eyelashes. Men just have inherently long eyelashes. And you want to know what I did? I did Google this a while ago because I was so like confused as to why men have such beautifully long eyelashes and they don't even really need them. They don't wear makeup, or I mean, some of them do, but you know what I mean. And it was because, and it all goes back to like the ancestral evolution of things. But it's because men would go out in the wild and like they'd be hunter gatherers, and they would need longer eyelashes to keep, the dust and the dirt and shit out of their eyes. Meanwhile, women back then would just stay inside where there wasn't, dust and dirt, and we didn't need like super long eyelashes. So, fun fact of the day for you. They can pee wherever. Now, this isn't really like, a pro for me. Like all of these other ones are like me looking at men and how they can benefit me. That sounds really fucked up. But like, you know what I mean? Like they can carry me. They're good at cuddling. This one's just a pro for them, period. They can just piss wherever. They also have more rights. I feel like that needed to be said. It didn't need to be said, but it needed to be said. That's another pro of being a man. You just inherently have privilege out the wazoo. So yeah, they can just pee wherever. If you're like in a car and you're stuck in traffic, they can just take a bottle and just pee in it, because they have like just, they can hold it and just aim. Meanwhile, for women, it is like, it's a free for all. When we pee, we don't know where that's going. We have no control over that stream, but men do. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. And like I said earlier, they can lift heavy things to assert their dominance. So like all of the feminism leaves my body whenever I have to lift something heavy. And also whenever things are going wrong with my car, I immediately think men are better, and I think that they are superior whenever I need my car fixed. And that's all the pros that I have. So good 10 minutes of me talking about the good things about men. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. Also, if you're watching, I have my I voted sticker. It is election day, so how about them apples? Hope you guys voted. Do your civic duty. Oh, this list is long. Excuse me. Now, reminder again, this is just supposed to be like funny. I mean, I'm being serious. These are the cons that I think, because it's my hot take on it. But again, don't get offended, because if you do, you're soft. You're a little puss. Anyways, don't worry, men. If there are any men out there listening, don't you worry. I will have one where I talk about the good and the bad of women. Now, the good list might be a lot longer than the bad, but again, I'm biased, and if you think that's unfair, then you want to know what being a woman is unfair in society. So, suck on that. Number 1, they're simple-minded. Now, this could be good and bad. They're simple-minded because they don't require much. It can also be a bad thing because there's nothing more annoying than having a conversation with someone who is simple-minded. So, yeah. Some of them love their mom a little too much as well. Like a little, like there's something very upsetting about seeing a man who like loves his mom. Story time. I slept with a man who had a picture of his mother in his room. Like her picture was on his desk facing his bed. And you can imagine what's going through my head when I'm sleeping with him and his mother is watching. A picture of his mom was literally like propped up on his desk. And I'm pretty sure his phone background was him and his mom. So for all the men out there who love their moms a little too much, aka having you and her as your background on your phone and having a picture of her on your desk facing your bed where you fornicate with people, check yourselves. Give yourself a little check. Men also don't think before they speak in so many cases. This also goes a lot for which is another point that I have. Being an asshole is, they think that's peak comedy. So they'll just like say shit and, think that they're going to get a laugh. And if the only laugh they're getting is probably from their male counterparts, if I'm around or most women are around, you're not going to get a laugh. Like, why did people just think that like women aren't funny? We know how to be funny without offending people and like being disrespectful and just being an asshole. So why did society just agree that women aren't funny? Because I think that we're fucking hilarious, actually. I think that we've, as a species, have gone through so much shit since the dawn of time that we have just curated enough trauma and discrimination that we can just have jokes come out of our ass because we can just play on all this shit that we've been through. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. It's very unifying for all women across the globe. But yeah, men don't actually really think before they speak. Like, I've had conversations with men and I'm just like, I just sit there and I stare and I'm like, what made you think that that was okay to say? What made you think that like, hey, this won't upset her? And they're like, oh, you're so soft. I'm like, no, you're just a dick. So next time, men, you want to say something, try thinking before you speak. That is something you learn whenever you're like 5. If you don't have anything nice, then don't say it at all. And this isn't me being soft. I can take it. Okay, I could take a joke. I could take some sarcasm. But it's as soon as you're just like an asshole about it, then it's not funny. You fucking ruined it. You ruined the vibe, and you said something ignorant and dumb. Men, start thinking, please. My God, you hold positions of power and you fucking still don't, and you have more rights than us and you still don't think before you speak. Dear God. This alpha mindset that they have, that like I was talking about it earlier, but they have this mindset that, like in gym class, for example, men have to assert this dominance that like they are the alpha species, even among other men. Another point that I have is that like men have to like prove their, like assert their dominance to other men too. So like in gym class, for example, when you're, middle school, high school, men just have to do the fucking most, because if they aren't trying their absolute hardest, and I think that they just assume that men care more about what men think than what women think. I'm convinced, especially in terms of like the physical aspect of it. Like, I genuinely am convinced that men at the gym care more about what the other men are thinking than like what the women are thinking. Like, who has the biggest muscles and the biggest pecs and the fattest ass, like shit like this. It's this like alpha mentality, and don't blame it on evolution. Stop blaming shit on evolution, okay? It's 2022. It's like you can adopt new characteristics. You don't have to live like the fucking cavemen did. You can move on from that. We don't need to live like we're sucking each other's toes. We can live like, a civilized nation, for fuck's sake. There's also the toxic masculinity that we all know and hate. Funny thing is that they created this toxic masculinity. They've just like, over time, they've just concluded that like men wearing certain colors is like gay or feminine, and then, men aren't allowed to cry. They did that to themselves. Let's not forget. Like, women don't care if men cry. Now, I'm sure women have definitely played a part in it. They're not innocent. But, like, why is it such a horrible thing for men to like things that women like? Are women that terrible that a man liking something a woman likes is a sin? I don't understand it. Like, if a man wants to paint his nails, that doesn't mean he's gay or bisexual. Like, who made these rules? Men, clearly, because it's like men can't cry, men can't do this. And you know how damaging that is? That's like, I read a statistic recently that like over 50% of suicides are men. And we don't talk about that enough because it's like men going to therapy, they're seen as weak. And all of this toxic masculinity is made and sourced from other men in this alpha mentality and this need to be better and the best. And like, why are we still living like this? I know that society would be a greener, more beautiful, and safe place if men would just start going to therapy. Why? Like, dear God, dear someone, can we please start making therapy required at least like one time a year as a society? Everyone has to go at least once a year just to talk it out a little bit. I think men would really, really benefit from it. And I can assure you that if, God forbid, I have children and one of them is a man, he will be going into therapy, or I will very much encourage, the emotional development that most humans should have. That segues into my next point. They're not in touch with their emotions. I have met one man who is in touch with their emotions, and that isn't my dad. And he actually ended up not being in touch with his emotions like 2 months later. So, that is highly unfortunate. Because I was like, oh my God, finally some guy who like talks about his feelings and like is communicating. This is great. No, that ended extremely quickly. I think it was just a facade in the beginning. Like, in the beginning of relationships, you're just like not your true self. Yeah, I think that was the case. Because I was like, what happened? This was like one of the reasons why I was so attracted to you, and now you're just like not in touch with your emotions anymore. What the fuck happened, dog? What happened? They also lack a sense of style. Most of them do, especially without the help of a woman or their mothers, because apparently having good style makes you gay or bisexual. I like that sentence really doesn't make any sense. I don't know why why people just made that up, because there's nothing more attractive than a man with like a decent sense of style. I'm not asking you to have this like high fashion, haute couture appearance. Just something that isn't long basketball shorts, a baggy shirt, like busted shoes, and Nike knee-length socks that have holes in them. All I'm asking, if you want to wear shorts, go the shorter the better, okay? Find a shirt that is a little bit tighter on the arms, but not too tight all around. Show off the muscles a little bit. When in doubt, go with Reebok sneakers. Always, like, that is my biggest green flag, is a man who wears Reebok sneakers. So I think it is the most infuriating thing that men think that men with good style, they have to be gay. You don't have to be gay to have a good sense of style. Who made these rules? I just want to talk because I'm sick and tired of seeing men looking like Adam Sandler on the side of the street. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, and I just want a man who wears Reebok sneakers and like jeans. Like, it takes so little. It takes such little effort for a man to be attractive. Be a good person. Okay, scratch that. Even if you don't want to be a good person and you just want to appear attractive, like, wear a backwards hat, probably have brown hair. And I've talked about this before. Jeans, Reebok sneakers, like a hoodie, or like a jean jacket. It takes so little, yet so little men are taking advantage of the easiness of it. and I'm sick of it. Also, and unfortunately, I have been victim of this in the sense that I have dated a man who did this or didn't. Men like don't wash their ass. When I found out that my ex-boyfriend, when we were still dating, didn't wash his ass, I like thought it was funny, because at first I was like, you know, all right, I'm just gonna tell the story. So we're in the shower and he's like, you know, he's washing himself, and we've showered before, and he had a washcloth. Like every time he would use a washcloth to wash himself, like most people should and probably do. And this time he hands me the washcloth and he's like, where do you want me to put this? And I was like, oh, just like right on the spout, like where you usually put it. And he was like, but I wash my ass with it. And I was like, do you not wash your ass? Like, what did you do with it last time? Like, didn't you wash your ass last time? He was like, no, I don't do it every time. I said, wait, what? What do you mean you don't wash your ass every time? And he was like, well, like I do it like every other time. What prompted him to think that like not washing your ass every time was a good thing to do? Who told men that not washing your ass was okay? That's not a thing. Not washing your hair every day, different fucking story. You take shits out of your ass. Even if you don't shit that day, you still need to wash your ass. I feel like I shouldn't need to say this, but my God, clearly some men just go around with sweaty asses and don't wash them every time they shower. That absolutely boggled my mind. I wish I were making this up. And then he got all pissed off because he was like, oh, you're judging me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I mean, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about yourself, dude, but Jesus, I'm like, you gotta wash your ass every day. You're a 21-year-old man and you're not washing your ass. I can't make this up, guys. True story. I swear to God. And it was just like, it was just one of those moments where I was genuinely speechless. I just like stood there and I was like, what do you mean you don't wash your ass every time? I wasn't trying to be mean, but like, what do you mean you don't wash your ass every time? I feel like that should be a known thing. Like, you should have learned that when you were like 7 years old. It was just like, it was too much. Following something similar, skid marks in their gutchies. Now, if anyone isn't familiar with the word gutchies, that also is a synonym for underwear. I feel like this just goes right along with like them not washing their ass. I feel like they also don't like wipe well enough. Like, can my generation just like mutually agree that we will be teaching all of our sons good, proper hygiene? Good hygiene for their ass, their face, their nails. That's another point. They just fucking forget about their nails, their toenails, their fingernails. Like, just dirt underneath them and not clipping them. If you are a heterosexual man who is having sexual relations with a woman and you are not cleaning underneath your fingernails and trimming your fingernails, stay away from her. Ladies, same goes, if you see a man with crusty fingernails, do not let him anywhere near your petunia, because that is just, you're just asking to get a fucking yeast infection at that point. Him just shoving dirt inside of you. That is like sex ed 101. Like, if I were a sex ed teacher, you want to know what? Maybe I should do that. because I feel like sex education in the United States is just the worst of the worst. It's like just basic hygiene, guys, you know, like, and you know, and I'm talking about like grown adults too, like guys who are going through puberty in middle school, you know, it's like, I get it if they're gonna be stinky, their bodies are changing and whatnot, but like, if you're over the age of 16 and you are still not properly washing your asshole, we're gonna have some issues by the time you're 21 and you have a girlfriend and you're taking a shower with her and you tell her that you don't wash your ass every time. I just don't know who told him that. And I really hope now, many months later, he is washing his ass every time. So, and here's the thing. All my really close friends know exactly who I'm talking about. So I hope you guys are getting a little jiggle. I almost just said, I hope you're getting a good jiggle out of it. Giggle is what I meant to say. Next up on the list for cons, fraternities. That's it. I have a whole episode on fraternities and sororities. So check that out. I go into detail about that. Everything about frats makes me boil with rage. This mob mentality that men have, it's like, especially for sports teams, they just like go along with everything because the last thing any man wants to do is like be an outcast, especially in a team. So if a guy is like, you know, he might have a different opinion about like gossip or something, he can't actually go out and be like, well, you know, I don't really, you know, I don't think it's actually that bad, blah, 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 or whatever it may be. Like, he'll get exiled. So every guy, regardless of what their actual opinion is just going to follow along. And that is also just clearly a part of this toxic masculinity that they've curated and that they just so love to milk. They, like I was kind of talking about earlier, they care a lot about what other men think about each other. Now, I mean, I guess you could say this for women as well, but it's weird because it's like, here's the difference. If a man, like, men caring about what other men think is more of a bullying sense, because, for example, if a guy does like a face mask with his girlfriend or even by himself and his friends find out, I feel like that's like social suicide. They just get fucking torn apart in the group chat. And it's like, why do you care that much? That man's gonna have better skin than you, then he's gonna get more ladies, and then you're just gonna have crusty fucking dry skin and not get any puss, and then you're gonna die alone. So let the men wear face masks and take care of their skin, god damn it, because it's attractive. If I see a man who like, I'm saying bare minimum, guys, if I see a man in his shower has face wash and then there's face lotion on the sink counter or wherever in his bathroom, I'm taking him to meet my parents. It takes such little effort, yet they're not doing it. Again, if men would just do these very, very minimal things, I feel like we could change the world. I feel like climate change would just go away. Truly. Now this one, I'm just gonna say it anyways, I don't really care. Their love for crypto and the stock market is a little weird to me. Like the crypto men who that's all they talk about. And it's different if like the stock market is their job, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Like the guys where everything they say goes back to the stock market and in reference to it. It is like having a conversation with those kind of guys feels like my teeth are getting pulled out of my fucking mouth. And I go to a school where the business college is really, I just threw up in my mouth, that was fun, is really big. Like, a lot of people are in the business school, and I've met way too many of them in my lifetime, and it is, for lack of better terms, excruciating. I've also found out, like, recently, having more guy friends, that apparently men having, like, a lot of candles can be seen as feminine. Again, like, this toxic masculinity. Like, why can't men have candles? Like, it is, like, the most baffling fucking thing. Like, if a man has a variety of candles, face wash, takes care of their fingernails, dresses well, immediately toxic men think that they're gay. Why can't men just take care of themselves and not be gay? That is, like, the logic is not there for me. And I know, oh, women are dumb. I know I'm a woman, but my God, I feel like I can understand some kind of logic. And there is none in this situation. Their hairy toes make me want to kill myself. There's nothing else to really say, but I have had my fair share of seeing male toes, and there is a reason why men get bullied for wearing sandals. And I would bully a man more for wearing flip-flops than I would if he were wearing socks and sandals. I'll just say that much. Men love to talk over me. And just, women in general. That's a big con. They love to, once again, assert their dominance and just talk over me. I was once talking to this guy, and we were in a fight, and I was kind of just, like, over it. And I could not get my point across because this motherfucker kept interrupting me. And he was like, you're contradicting yourself. You don't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you aren't letting me finish a fucking sentence. So yeah, you're not going to understand what I'm saying. I start to say something and then you interrupt me. I'm not a screamer. I'm not a yeller. But this time, I literally was on the phone with him. I'm driving too, by the way. I'm on the phone with him. And I, like, scream in the microphone into my phone. And I'm like, if you don't shut the fuck up and stop talking over me, you will never hear another word from me. And you will live your life alone and die alone. And you will have nothing to live for if you don't shut the fuck up. I don't know why. I don't know, why I resorted to such violence. But I was so sick of him talking over me. I was like, he just was like, you're contradicting yourself. And then he starts, when a man laughs when a woman is, like, trying to say something, or, like, not validate herself, but, I don't know, prove her point, they just, like, and they, like, kind of chuckle. Oh my God. That you will get your nuts ripped off if you do that to me. I'm sorry. Overall, men are still stuck in the 1920s. At the latest, probably even before that. Thankfully not in terms of style, but mentality. Like I've said with a lot of things, it's just like this evolutionary thing that they just think that they still have to be the hunter and gatherers. It's been so long. You can be a stay-at-home dad, or, you don't have to do all of these things. You don't have to be a macho man. You can do things that your girlfriend wants to do too. You don't have to pretend that it's not cool. If you want to watch Gossip Girl and say that it's a good show, I guarantee if you tell a girl that, she'll get so excited because, that just shows that a man isn't insecure about his sexuality. Nothing more unattractive than a man being insecure in his sexuality. So they're also impulsive. They just, once again, don't think before they speak. They just do shit. And then following that, they have a lack of responsibility for their actions. Men love to just, like, not take responsibility for things and not, like, apologize. It's like anything that happens, that is their fault. They're just like, gaslight, gaslight, gaslight. Do not apologize. Do not apologize. Gaslight. I didn't do that. Oh, so blah, blah, blah. It's like men will say anything but I'm sorry. Like, once again, why? Who do men secretly take a class where they just learn all this shit, like not washing their ass and just being an asshole? Is that correlated? Like, if you don't wash your ass, you're just like, all of that extra asshole juice is just like infiltrated into your personality. There has to be some kind of science behind it. And lastly, last but not least, my con for men: the way they hold their forks and wash their face. I know you guys have seen those TikToks of girls reenacting the way men wash their face. It's just so violent. It is one of the most violent acts I've seen. Right next to war. They're just like just all up in their face. They're using both of their hands and just scrubbing the shit out of their face. The way they hold forks, if you're watching on video right now, you could see they hold their forks like in a fist, and then they just like shovel it in. They just fucking shovel food into their mouths as if they're holding a shovel or a pitchfork. It's like they don't have basic table manners in that regard. So if any of you have a boyfriend, please make sure he's washing his face correctly and not holding his fork like he's a caveman. That would help me sleep better at night. So if you guys can do that for me, that'd be really, really great. It's not that you're trying to change him, it's just that you're trying to do me a favor. So the fork thing isn't as important because, you know, that's just the way it is. But if you see him washing his face like that for the good of his skin and health, you need to tell him to be softer to his skin. You don't need to be aggressive. There's no other guys around watching you. You can do it gently. Men can be gentle without being gay. That's the moral of the story. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my little pros and cons. Check back next week for where I talk about the pros and cons of women. One of my favorite things on the planet. Love them to death. I'll start with the cons first for women because I feel like that list is going to be longer or shorter, and then I'll go into the pros because obviously I'm biased and I'm going to have a lot of good things to say about women because I am, in fact, if you couldn't tell, a woman. So thank you guys for listening. You can follow the pod on Instagram at Argue with the Wall, but the with is a W. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do that. I upload these videos and it takes fucking forever. So if you could just subscribe, that'd be really awesome. You can rate this podcast wherever you're listening to it as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.